Hello. We
Hey.
are back.
I'm so excited to be back.
I know.
I
It feels
missed
like
you. It was a
it's
long
been
time.
forever. So welcome back to everybody. Thanks for joining us again. Let's go ahead and get into it, huh?
All right, let's do it.
Let's just
Should we introduce
dive right
ourselves
in.
real quick because it is a podcast?
I guess it is a podcast. We do try to run it like that. So, hello, everybody. Welcome to That's So Fucked Up, a podcast about cults, murder, and other generally fucked up stuff. As you know, hopefully, if you've been joining us for the past 3 episodes, then you know that we have been recapping the prison confessions of Gypsy Rose Blanchard. Each episode is about an hour long, so it takes us roughly an hour to an hour and 10 minutes to break down the documentary scene by scene. Little heads up off at the top for our YouTube viewers. If that's not your style, probably not a good fit for you. We do chat a little bit. We don't just really read the documentary straight off the paper. So just a little heads up as to what you're in for. We are a podcast that talks about the subject as we tell the story. So,
Agree.
but our podcast listeners are very well aware of that and pretty happy with our work, which is awesome. So let's focus on the podcasting. And hey, everybody. I am one of your hosts. I don't know why I keep. Let's burp burp. Hey everybody, we are your hosts. I'm Ashley Love Richards,
and I'm Fallon Mori.
And yeah, right now we are your one-stop Gypsy shop. We're breaking down all of the episodes that are on Lifetime of the prison confessions of Gypsy Rose Blanchard. If you haven't already heard, we've already recapped the first 3 episodes. Those are available to you now. So if you like listening to things in order, which is always how I recommend you do it, that is available to you. But if you're here right now and you're ready to rock, so are we. So should we do a quick update on what Gypsy's socials are up to as of today, January 8th?
Yeah, just a quick one. Let's do it.
Just a quick one? You don't want me to talk about it extensively?
I mean, you definitely can.
Her voice is so cute. Hey, y'all. Okay, 7.9 mil on Instagram. And on TikTok, we have... What's really annoying is a fake account actually comes up first.
Oh, her TikTok got hacked. That's what her video is about. So you probably can't give an accurate count, but they're trying to get it restored. They did a whole video where she's like, don't panic. It's still me.
Everybody's panicking. Everyone's panicking. Okay, well, she still does have 9.1 million followers on TikTok. So a quick bit of math says that's 17 million followers.
Yep. You got it. Good mathing.
In
a week.
No.
And a half.
At this point, it's been since the 28th-ish, right? So a week and a half. Yeah.
Oof.
That is
wild.
Wow. Yeah. So let's go. Episode 4.
Let's do it. Every time you say "let's go," you go and
it's
then
just really funny. Joanna says, "I would love an extensive review of her followers."
Don't encourage her. So up first we have Tom. He's a trucker from Washington, and he likes Gypsy since Friday.
Yeah, he's been a fan for a week.
This is gonna be a long podcast, y'all. Buckle up. Just
kidding. Let's go.
All right. Episode 4 is called Only Way Out. We start off with Gypsy's sister, Mia Blanchard. It's Gypsy's half sister, technically. She says Gypsy is finally finding herself and her independence. And she's sorry that Gypsy didn't get to live the same type of life she did with a loving father and mother, going to school and hanging out with friends. She thinks that while Gypsy deserves to be in jail, she also deserves to get help, and 10 years is too long. So we flash back to Gypsy when she was 23 years old. She retells meeting Nick at the theater and about how bad it went. Gypsy was waiting for the other shoe to drop at this point and for her mother to freak out. And she is getting to the point where she's just desperate to live a normal life. So this is when she and Nick start to try to make other plans. First, she thinks, what if he got her pregnant? If they had a baby, they would have to be either together forever or he would have to stay in her life. That's what she thought at the time.
That old chestnut.
Old chestnut. So Dr. Fabian is back. If you haven't been listening or if you can't remember, because there's a million names, Dr. Fabian's the psychologist that Gypsy's consulted with before her parole hearing. He says the emotional bond she had with her mother was very unhealthy, obviously. Gypsy wanted more independence. She also wanted she to do what she... How did I write this sentence?
What?
I put the word to like 6 times in the sentence.
She too wanted
stand by while Ashley's co-host is experiencing a technical glitch.
Right.
She also wanted to do whatever she could not to lose Nick. I got it. I did it. Woo.
Nailed it.
I sent Ashley something today that I like, some weird brain work that I did, and she didn't even respond. It's wild.
What brain work did you do?
Where you were like, what episode was that in? And I came back with, and you were like, how did you even know? And I was like, all right, get ready for a wild ride. Buckle
I did
up.
respond with
Oh, yeah, you
a
did.
Rain Man gif.
You did.
But because you said, sorry, ADHD moment, actually probably autism moment.
Probably my autism moment, right?
She explained how her beautiful mind got to an episode that we had mentioned a product in like 4 months ago or something. So good on you.
Anyway,
yeah,
I got it. So anyway, back to Gypsy and Nick. She's trying to do what she can not to lose this man she thinks she's in love with, but she's also wants her own independence, and she wants to like listen to her mother. So things are really starting to come to a head. Gypsy was aware she could walk. She knew she didn't have a seizure disorder, and she says at this point she suspected she probably did not have leukemia because she's never been told for sure she didn't.
she's like, I don't really feel like I'm dying of cancer. And anytime my mom doesn't shave my head for a little while, my hair really weirdly grows out.
Right. Her mother got power of attorney papers saying that Gypsy was incompetent and couldn't care for herself.
That is also why she was so fucking scared to try to say anything, because her mom had all of these documents that she was very good at convincing people were legitimate documents somehow that said that Gypsy was mentally incontinent or incompetent. That incontinent. Nope.
It sounded like you said Gypsy was mentally in a continent, and I was like, aren't we all in a continent?
I don't even know, dude. I don't know where we are.
What year is it?
Her mom said, yeah, her mom had these papers drawn up saying that she was mentally incapable of taking care of herself. Her mom had fake fucking birth certificates that said she was younger than she was. What was the name of the episode? No Other Way Out?
Only Way Out.
Yeah. I mean, she was left. Somebody said in our Discord the other day, and I was like, great fucking wording. They said Gypsy is like the poster child of bounded choice. And I was like, dude, totally. For anybody who's not familiar with the term bounded choice, it's coined by our favorite world renowned cult expert, Dr. Yanya Lalick. And it is when people, generally in some sort of coercive relationship or group, are forced to make choices that to the outside world seem, what? That's crazy. But for the people within those situations, because they have to go with the norms and the thoughts and beliefs and behaviors of the group or leader, which in this case is Dee Dee, it's a one-on-one cult, then people's choices become much smaller than what seems reasonable to people who are not in that situation.
And you're not making a choice like for
Can
the
you say that
best.
again? Your microphone did a little beep thing.
Sorry, you're.
okay.
Is it okay now?
Mm-hmm.
You're not making a choice for the best thing. You're making a choice of like the least bad thing and something slightly badder, maybe. And people on the outside are like, well, you shouldn't have done either of those things. But they don't feel like they have that choice.
Okay, Bob.
Now, Bob is one of Gypsy's 7 million followers. So maybe. So Gypsy says, okay, at this point, I am trapped. I realized I was trapped. If I ran away again, the cops would just bring me back because my mother has papers saying I'm mentally challenged. And it began to become more clear to her that she wasn't going to get away from Dee Dee while she was alive. Gypsy saying while she was alive. Like she wouldn't get away from her alive.
Right. Like she said,
Yeah.
It's me or her. One of us is going to leave this situation dead.
Yes.
Because if anybody didn't listen to the last episode, Fallon talked about the fact that after Dee Dee went and forcefully retrieved Gypsy from Dan's house, which we were glad about because Dan's a fucking creep. It's not great. Going back to mom isn't great. Staying with Dan, not great, but at least Dan's gone and that's good. But now Gypsy got chained to a bed for 2 weeks and Dee Dee started sleeping with a knife next to the bed and was like, hey, if you peace out, know that there will be consequences. Knife, consequences, put 2 and 2 together. Then Dee Dee buys a fucking gun. So you are literally living in a house where this person is like threatening you verbally and then arming up.
Yeah. Wild.
It was a BB gun, you guys, but still.
She didn't know that.
No.
When she bought it. So Beatrice Yorker, she's the expert on fictitious disorder.
Factitious.
I'm trying.
Wait,
really
is it
hard.
fictitious? No, it's factitious. Yeah, it's factitious.
Yes. I'm trying to get the words out correctly.
Fictitious would fucking, I mean, that would like work though, That's
Just sort.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Factitious disorder imposed on another. FDIA. It's the most updated term for Munchausen by proxy. She says she's an expert at this, and she says this is pretty classic of kids who are being held hostage. They see that window of opportunity closing and start to get desperate. And Gypsy was definitely desperate. The producers, it's one of the first times you hear it. They air the producer's actual question to Gypsy. They say, who was it that came up with the plan to, and they word it like this, not have Dee Dee around at all? And Gypsy says that it was her.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense to me.
Can I ask a quick technical question about YouTube?
Yeah.
Am I supposed to not use the R word when it comes to talking about sexual assault if it's used? Should I say SA instead?
So I guess you can say it. So my understanding is as long as it's a little bit further into the video and you're not like excessively
No.
saying
It was just like in
I
a
think
quote.
It's okay.
Okay.
But you should use essay according to Renee just to be safe.
Okay.
Like
I'll
you
use
should
that.
use map since they don't like the P word. We're trying to educate people, but I understand, it's like
So Nick told Gypsy he would protect her from anyone, even her mother. And then he started to talk about fantasies, about murder, SA, and crime, which she didn't realize was like a dark spot that existed in him, which is where he reveals that he has an alternate personality named Victor. Victor is a 500-year-old vampire who loves to kill and would be happy to kill her mother for her. They show.
Okay, so do you think he like believes that though, or do you think he has some? Wait, yeah, I'm asking you. What do you think?
I'm not gonna diagnose Nick's.
What?
But he is very like he is very. He doesn't refer to his alternate personality like it's some. I go into a dissociative state and I'm Victor, and then I wake up and I'm me, and I don't know what Victor does, which is commonly when you hear about like people dissociating. He just is like, oh yeah, I just have an evil side, and his name is Victor. Like he's very aware of. He's just giving a name. I think he's just giving a name to some part of himself that really just wants to kill somebody.
Right. And I think that combined with the essay is probably where the heavy sentencing got in.
So yeah, there's a text message that they show. They show little clips of their exchanges, and one says, "Babe, my evil side is doing it. He won't mess up because he enjoys killing." Gypsy said at the time she did believe that he was capable, and she believed in his alternate personality. So she said at this point, he directed her to do research herself about ways to commit murder. For example, he said, well, he wanted her to do the research and Google it. So she starts Googling, look up poison. So she looks up poison, and he suggested different types. And he says, look up arson. And she suggested a gun, but he pointed out that noise might alert the neighbors. So they finally decided on a knife, which Gypsy got because she stole it from Walmart.
A knife is just like, man, that is brutal. Messy.
Yeah.
Ugh.
There is a lot of pretty I didn't do more details than they said in the episode. They don't really go into gory detail, but it is a rough episode. The producer asked Gypsy her thoughts and mindset back then. Gypsy said, I pitied myself. I look at myself as a scared little girl trying to get out of a scary situation and then being trapped. I'm paraphrasing, obviously.
Okay, I was going to say, I hope she doesn't. I feel like often pity can have a very negative connotation. Oh, you going to throw a pity party or whatever, So I do hope that she is able to see it as that she was in survival mode and that not that she was like pitying herself. Because
yeah, that's just the way she phrased it. She said, I pitied myself, but
I hope that just sounds like very self-blamey. So I hope that she's not blaming herself too much,
Well, she says she wishes that she knew that there were people she could have gone to and that she didn't have to commit a crime, because at this point she's at I'm out of options. This is my only way. She said, had I gone and asked any responsible person to commit a murder, they would have been like, nope, I'm going to the authorities. But when she went to Nick, he was like, yep, okay, I'll kill your mother. Which should have told her, like, at the time, she says.
Okay, well, I could see how maybe somebody going to the authorities on her behalf might be helpful. But remember, we've talked about the going to the authorities option, and we don't think it's great.
No.
Also, I don't think Nick's going to be the best representative. And then I think Gypsy's probably going to get murdered because Dee Dee will find out she was in cahoots with Nick to try to take her down. And then,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it cuts to 4 hours before the parole hearing. Christy, her stepmom, Christy Blanchard, is going to Gypsy's parole hearing because she has to be the representative. Gypsy's dad, Rob, got sent away on a month-long sea time because he's a sailor of some sort. He works in a boat.
On a
He
sea
got
time.
sea time. Sorry, that's a Navy term. If
Oh,
y'all
is
don't
it?
know,
Oh, is it?
yes, sea time, time at sea. I
Yeah.
could have said a month-long underway. That's the other way you would say it.
Well, that would have really confused me.
Okay. I
All
say
right,
the
sailor.
nautical things around here.
Aye,
This boat's not big enough for the two of us. Okay, so so unfortunately Dad can't make it, so Christy's gonna go instead. Gypsy says an interesting statement. She says the death of her mother was the death of a mother figure, but it was not the mother that she wanted. She then goes back to talking
God
about
damn it, she's insightful. Fuck.
I know.
Ugh.
She goes back and starts talking about the event again. So she says Nick told her he wanted there's a trigger warning coming up for something Nick said about SA and a few other things. Nick,
yeah.
Trigger warning, skip forward maybe 15 seconds if you don't want to hear it. Nick said that he started talking about making her mother suffer in a violent and demented way. He originally said he wanted to murder Dee Dee and dump her on an abandoned farm because pigs are there and eat anything. He then said he wanted to...
That is dark, dude. That is some serial killer Robert Pickton fucking shit.
Yes. Yes.
Really quick, Renee said Nick is on the spectrum, but that doesn't explain his dark thoughts and acts, which I think is a good point.
Yes.
I guess when I brought up his, intense sentencing, I don't know. I guess that's always like a very tricky subject because how much can we look at that stuff when persecuting? How much can we look at that stuff when punishing insanely violent acts? Because if somebody's a psychopath or whatever, then obviously they have a severe personality disorder. They're not well, right? They're not a normal, rational person making these decisions, but that doesn't excuse them killing people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I would say it's the opposite because I have close loved ones on the spectrum and they are very incredibly cuddly, friendly, affectionate people that don't think dark thoughts. So it's a good point for sure.
It's not a correlation.
No, not at all.
I guess I just always get I bristle a little bit when I hear about either life in prison and not in some sort of mental facility or the death penalty when somebody is. And I only say, I want to be clear that I'm only saying of diminished capacity because his mom said, oh, Nick will never be mentally beyond the age of 15. So I don't know. I do think that's an interesting thing to take into account.
So, Nick also told Gypsy that he wanted to SA Dee Dee with Gypsy standing there.
Oh, dude.
And then the last thing he said, buckle up. He said that Victor, his vampire alter ego, had several rituals that were important to him. And he told Gypsy that if they ever had a daughter together upon the daughter's 13th birthday, he would take her virginity. And Gypsy says after that conversation, she dumped him.
Okay, I'm changing my mind.
Okay.
He sounds like a danger to society.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like this was, because generally that's kind of how I think is a good measure. It's one good way, right, of determining how long somebody's sentence is like, is Gypsy going to kill anybody else? Absolutely not. She's not a danger to fucking anybody. The one person that she was a danger to, is now gone because that
Mm-hmm.
danger is past. But Nick Godejohn sounds like a fucking very mentally disturbed individual. Like, that is fucking sick.
Yes.
Ugh.
So Gypsy dumped him. Nothing else really horrible coming up in the next few. So that was the end of it. So, yeah. So a few days later, he sent her a text message saying, I didn't mean it. It was just Victor. It wasn't me. And Gypsy said she thought he was going to be her Prince Charming still, and she took him back because he was her way out, loved her, etc. So imagine the choice when you have to be with somebody because they love you, who says those sorts of things, or your mom that's abused you your whole life. Those are your two choices. I can't fucking imagine.
Bounded choice poster child.
Yeah, exactly. The producers ask how the date was picked, the date to murder Dee Dee. And Gypsy says they picked a random date. It was as soon as she could gather enough money for his bus ticket, which ultimately she stole from Dee Dee's safe and sent to Nick in a greeting card.
Yeah, it's not like she got to keep any of the money from Rod or any of the fucking organizations that Dee Dee was scamming.
Mm-hmm. Let's be clear, Dee Dee was using her body to scam from.
Yeah.
Right.
Dee Dee was
A psychopath.
physically fine. She was eating whatever the fuck she wanted in front of Gypsy and shit. Ugh.
So
Yeah.
Gypsy says at this point she's going to reveal something that she has never made public to anyone and has only ever been revealed to attorneys. And that is, you see a clip because she made a video for Nick about the layout of her house, and so that he could see what it looked like and navigate through it while he was going to find Dee Dee's bedroom. And if you see the clip, it doesn't look like it looks kind of like a hoarder house. Like there's stuff piled up in the corners everywhere, just like everywhere. And in it, she goes over to her mother's side of the bed and like points and makes a stabbing motion. She says, I made it because I was high all the time on pain pills, which created a disconnection to reality. And then it flashes back over where you see the cut there, and then you see Christy in her hotel 3 hours before Gypsy's parole hearing, and she and Rod are saying a prayer for Gypsy together. All right, so here we go.
I cannot wait to tell you about Natalia Grace because there are far more parallels than
you would imagine.
than I knew at all. So I'm like hearing things, and because I was watching that like right before we got together.
Well, since you're going to tell me about some of it, then I'm not going to watch it. So
No, don't.
producers ask Gypsy to walk them through the day the murder happened. So in her own words, Gypsy said she remembers that day very clearly. She woke up next to Dee Dee and messaged Nick, who said he was on the way. That night,
Also, pretty unhealthy for a 23-year-old to be sleeping in bed with her mom. Can we throw that out there? Why the fuck? I mean, we know why, because Dee Dee needed to control her at all times, but like
that's why.
that's so fucking fucked and weird. Like not letting your daughter not even have her own bed not her own room, not even her own bed.
She had a room and a bed, but it was covered in stuffed animals. She couldn't actually sleep on it.
It was like a showroom,
basically, because she had to sleep in bed with her mom. So that night, her and her mother had planned to watch a movie together, and Nick told her to tell Dee Dee she loved her. So she said she gave her mom a big hug, and her mother told her, "What's that for? I'm not dead yet." And she's like, of all the things she could have said to me at that moment, it was like.
Also, the last thing she said to her was, "Don't hurt me anymore," or "Don't hurt me." Dee Dee just like knew how to fuck it. She knew somehow to fuck with her as hard as possible.
Gypsy said this whole part was really hard to listen to. Gypsy said she went to Dee Dee's bedroom and cried. She said part of her didn't want to go through with it anymore. She hugged her mom's pillow because it had Dee Dee's scent on it. And then she went back out to the living room where she put the movie on and they started watching. I know, breaks my heart into tiny pieces. 2 hours later, Nick texts that he's at the hotel and they exchange texts. Is she asleep? Oh, yeah, she's fast asleep. So Nick takes a cab to the house and arrives. The first thing he says to her that she says, he walks in and the first thing he says to me is, the bitch is dead. And then the next thing he said was, get your fucking ass to the bathroom now.
Wait, what? I feel like I just blacked out. What, Nick, he got there and what?
He got there and he didn't kill her yet. He just walked in and the first words he said to Gypsy were, the bitch is dead. Get your fucking ass to the bathroom.
Oh.
Like, I'm about to kill her. Go. Right. So she's like not even hello or anything. He's just like, so
the bitch is dead too. Just like, that's not traumatic.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
so Gypsy goes to the bathroom and shuts the door. She gets down on the ground and covers her ears. She hears Dee Dee wake up. She hears screaming and banging. It stops and she uncovers her ears, but then she hears Dee Dee calling her name, Gypsy, help me. Gypsy becomes extremely emotional, obviously, in the documentary at this point. She said she's never been able to get it out of her head. She remembered wanting to help her, but she just sat there and couldn't move. She heard screaming, then one sharp scream, then nothing. She said she would do anything to go back to that moment in time. There are many that she could go back to, but that was the point where Dee Dee didn't have to die, and she wishes that she could have stopped it. I know.
Hot take, though. I kind of think Dee Dee did have to die.
I think she said, you know, it's funny. You know what? My husband agreed with you too, because she said that. And I was like, oh, and my husband was like, no, I disagree.
Yeah, like I'm with Chris. Like, I think she did. I mean, it's not, I don't love to say that, but it was a killer be killed situation. If Dee Dee Blanchard were alive today, Gypsy wouldn't be. That's a fact in my mind.
Yeah. Nick comes to the bathroom door holding the knife and has blood coming off his finger because he cut himself. He basically just tells Gypsy, clean up all the droplets of my blood in the house, and watches her as she works. She says at this point, she's totally dissociated from what was happening, like a bad dream. Trigger warning here again for SA. This is also why I hate this guy. Nick commands Gypsy to take her clothes off and then says because she didn't let him SA her mother, she has to agree to let him do it to her. So it's off. He's awful.
No. No, Fallon.
I didn't make him.
Do you know where it happened?
What happened? The SA?
God. Yes.
Yeah, she comes back and says it in a little bit.
Oh,
I was trying to follow the documentary, which that was the end of like the the commercial break tangent. And at that point, it's right before her parole hearing. She's sort of in the woosah moment, right? She's like, I'm trying to take it all in and have a moment of peace and sound thoughts before my hearing. And she says, but like ultimately keeping her in prison isn't going to bring her mother back. So she goes back to talking about that night. He told her to go back to her room and remove all the stuffed animals from her bed. And that's where he was going to have sex with her. She says he did not stop when I yelled stop. And she says at that moment she called out for her mother.
No.
I know.
No.
It hurt me.
Okay, now I'm going to start. I know.
Now
I have to start laughing because I can't. I can't, Fallon.
No, I have tears like having to say that.
Oh, I'm just laughing because I'm out of tears and I can't
I'm
handle.
sorry.
So we just
So,
had two people leave. They're like, "This is enough. This is
oh, I'm just describing the documentary. I'm
fuck.
sorry.
God damn it, Fallon." No, no, I know. It's just it's like Brian said in the chat. It just keeps getting worse somehow.
So and then she had blacked out because he was like also choking her a little bit, and when she woke back up he told her to get ready and call a cab. So they left the house and went to a hotel. She was worried that someone might see her, but she had on a wig, so she figured she was safe. She said the whole time she was still taking a ton of pain meds to get high, so she is in a state of shock. The next day, they were supposed to leave for Wisconsin, and while Nick had booked himself a round trip ticket, there wasn't enough room available on the bus for Gypsy, so they had to go back and stay at the hotel for 2 days. Gypsy was high on her pain pills the whole time, she said, but she was just hanging out and enjoying being with Nick. She thought it was fascinating, like amazing that they got to order a pizza. They joking.
She's like probably never. Well, I mean, she's obviously been to hotels, but never in a like a fun capacity where you're doing sex or drugs.
Right. She, I mean,
Right.
right.
Or at least rocking and rolling.
Rocking and rolling and other stuff. Where was I? Oh, speaking of other stuff. She mentions that they thought it would be funny to make like a little porn video together, but they didn't end up doing it. She reports
She is so fucking lucky that she decided against that. Oh my God.
She shows a video clip of what they started doing, which was like they were joking about, she like makes a lewd comment on the video and she's like, and then the camera went off. So
yeah, good call.
But I'm sure that video was probably used wildly against her because it was right after her mom died.
Oh, obviously it was. I've seen the videos. She's like laughing and shit.
Yeah.
And people are like, psycho.
So she reports experiencing a roller coaster of emotions between happiness and so like laughing and then absolute grief. They get on a bus to Wisconsin as scheduled 2 days later, and she said it seemed thrilling. It was the most independent thing she'd ever done in her life, and she was taking pics out the window with her digital camera, like of her trip. It reminds me, if you've
like,
seen,
tourist.
have you seen Love Actually?
Yes, but
where the guy
only once.
Oh, so there's a guy on there who is like all about going to America because he thinks it's this place he's gonna go and like have sex with a bunch of people, and he like goes to Wisconsin like it's this magical place. So I imagine this is like that. What is it about at Wisconsin? She also said she'd stolen $5,000 from her mom, and she honestly thought, because she was so naive, that that was like the money they were going to live off of for the rest of their life. $5,000.
Oh,
honey, I know.
Well, sure she knows now.
Sure. They go to Nick's house and they tell Nick's mom that her mom had kicked her out of the house, and Nick's mother's kind of fine with it. But as Gypsy started to have this situation around her sink in, she realized like Nick's not the independent man she thought he was. He lives with his parents' room, with his parents in a small room, which looked like that of a 15-year-old boy. Like she gives the example that there's a wrestling themed comforter on the bed. So this might be back to like what you mentioned earlier. And she contemplated what she had gotten herself into.
I cannot imagine, because just no. Yeah. Sorry. I'll shut up. Just no.
So, yeah. They do a quick cutaway where they talk about Christy going into the hearing and Gypsy talking about how in court she had attorneys who spoke for her, but now she was really just going to be all on her own. So she goes back to talking about Nick. and saying it wasn't really freedom because Nick picked out what Gypsy wore, what she watched, what they would eat, just like her mother used to do. And she was like, is this what I traded, like that life for this life? Kind of like, this is some bullshit, right? Her
Ew.
her remorse and her guilt surfaced. She couldn't deal with the idea of her mother being dead in her bed at her house with nobody knowing. So she went on Facebook, the Facebook account she and her mother shared, and made those famous fake Facebook posts that many people know about.
Yeah.
She was like, well, I don't know what to post. So she posted what Nick had said when he first entered her house, which is, that bitch is dead. So
And then
people start commenting on it. Christy says she got a call from a friend who's like, have you seen this post on Dee Dee's Facebook?
well,
And
it says a lot more than that. It's like I slatched. Are you getting there?
yeah. Settle your ass down, man.
Okay.
But you're so knowledgeable and I love it. So people were hacking social media a lot. So everyone was like, oh, this is a hoax. And she's like, but I wanted people to know this was serious. Her goal was, she said, to get cops out to the house. So she made a second post that said, I'm going to use the way it was written on the screen also because I don't want to say these things out loud. It says, like, I bleeping slash that fat pig and bleep her sweet innocent daughter. Her scream was so bleeping loud.
You don't want to say fucking?
No, on this, I didn't know what all the words were because it was like on the screen with like,
Oh, with bleeps.
Right. Yeah. She thought that post would alarm people to get them to check out her mother's house. And she was right.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Nailed it.
That'll do it.
Yeah.
So in case you were wondering, I am serious. So they interview a man named Alan Voss, who is an investigator for the Waukesha Sheriff Department. That's the town in Wisconsin that Nick lives in, that they went to. Authorities back in Louisiana had gotten alerted to the post. They had gone into the home and upon investigating found Dee Dee murdered in her bedroom. Gypsy's wheelchair that she was supposedly needed to be in all the time, or everyone who knew her thought she still needed to be in a wheelchair, was still there. So the initial working theory became that Gypsy had been abducted. Mm-hmm. And they show even a clip from a news story that says, you know, that people are concerned about where, you know, Gypsy was at this point. So they cut back over because Gypsy is about to go into her parole hearing. Gypsy says she'd be heartbroken to spend all 10 years in jail. Marcia Smith wrote, who was the one she used to call Nona, the family friend, wrote a letter to the parole board. She thinks that Gypsy is sorry. They show after the hearing, cameras aren't allowed inside. Christy is telling Rod, who's Gypsy's dad, that he would be proud of his baby girl. Gypsy said that she told them that she understood why Gypsy had done what she did, but that didn't mean she condoned it. And she said that Gypsy did really well. The parole board asked Gypsy what she thought about her life sentence, or what she thought about her sentence. And she told them, it's not a 10-year sentence. I have to live with it for the rest of my life.
Oh, gosh. That's
heavy.
That's got to be the truth.
So Gypsy calls the producers like 2 hours after and says, I thought it was going to be more uptight than it was, but I feel optimistic. In Louisiana, they interview Gypsy's sister, who says that, you know, she'll always struggle with certain things, but she's becoming a beautiful woman. Gypsy's cousin says she was backed up into a corner and couldn't get out, and he just wants to see her get out to live a life she deserved. 6 days later, she calls Christy and says, Mom, guess what? And her earliest release date is December 28th, 2023.
And we know that now because we're in the future.
Yeah. And it happened right about that day. Her cousin says again, she was imprisoned for so long by her mom, and now that the devil is no longer standing over her anymore, she can be free. Marcia Smith says she wishes that she could have done something so that Gypsy didn't spend time in prison. I have to say, I think this is really sad that all the people that didn't know any better all say, like, I wish I would have done something better for her, like it's their fault. And all the people who probably should have known better, that we've talked about or said something, didn't. And they're not like, I'm really sorry. Like the guy yesterday was like, oh, I'm glad she can walk, wish her the best. Like,
Yeah. Oh, cool. Yeah.
It's really
she can
sad.
A lot more than walk, dude. She's not terminally ill at all in like anyways.
Yeah. So Christy shows a room in their house, and they say this is going to be Gypsy's when she gets out. Rod says there will definitely be adjustments, but he hopes that she uses the support teams they have in place with her to become a productive young woman. And then they cut to Gypsy, who says, my plan when I get paroled was to go back and live with Dad and Christy, but I have been keeping a secret and I am actually engaged. And that's where they end the episode.
What? Also, it's the future, and we're very well aware that she's not only engaged but married.
And they show clips for the upcoming episode, and the next scene is like Christy being like, "Don't get married." But that's probably just like a mom thing.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's a lot, I think, right? I've never been married. It seems like a lot, though.
So they didn't really close the loop on the whole, the investigation or anything. So I'm sure they're gonna go into that. But it was a pretty quick, fast-paced episode 4.
Yeah, we just ran right through that. Even with me talking.
I know. They didn't interview many people. Like in the last ones, I felt like they had so many more of the experts like pipe in with like their little tidbits, but they interviewed far less people, I felt, than except for like Gypsy and her mom. They kept flashing Gypsy and Christy, they kept flashing back and forth a lot.
Okay.
So,
well, we're going to be back on Wednesday for episodes 5 and 6. We are on it like a bonnet with this one.
And the editors should be very happy that there's less than 50 minutes on our episode, which is awesome.
They're going to be super stoked with that. Yay, gay dress. And what else was I going to say? Yeah, so we will be back on Wednesday. So this is to our YouTube people right now. Oh, somebody says, Peggy Pete says, wasn't she engaged to someone else while in prison before Ryan? I think we covered that, right?
In the last episode, she mentioned that she was engaged to somebody in 2019, but in her words, the guy left her.
And Renee says, I wish her dad hadn't been encouraging about her relationship with Ryan. You need to experience a little bit of life beforehand. Do you know if Rod was?
I think they're going to talk about that in the next episode. Like the preview clips highly hinted that they're going to cover her new relationship in much detail. So
okay, well, you guys are gonna have to wait until Wednesday to hear more of the fiance and marriage dirt. I will say that I'm going to keep my opinions out of it. I do have opinions, of course. I have fucking very strong opinions.
You have opinions?
Everything.
What?
Yeah.
I was just thinking, like, I wish Ash had way more opinions.
Yeah, she's so unopinionated. She doesn't ever have anything like strong to say about anything.
And you're like, shut up.
But I'm gonna say that I did hear her say in an interview that it's been very frustrating for everybody to be speaking on her behalf and telling her story and getting it incorrect and either calling her a victim or a perpetrator. It sounds like she's really kind of like over people telling her narrative, which makes a lot of sense. And I understand that people's general thoughts are we wish the best for Gypsy and therefore we wish X, Y, or Z. But I do think that Gypsy would probably tell us all to go politely fuck ourselves with those opinions. I really do, because she's made it pretty clear in the interview clips that I've seen that she's not really interested in other people's opinions about her relationship and how she's running her life. And maybe she could use more therapy or life experience. Couldn't we fucking all? So I'm going to be telling about her relationships. Although, like Peggy said, thank you, Peggy. Hashtag Ashley facts. The Ashley facts on this are that I think that Gypsy, well, she did. She recently told everybody to shut the fuck up and that the D is fire. We know that, when everybody had thoughts and opinions about Ryan. I might have some thoughts and opinions about Ryan too, but I'm sure people have thoughts and opinions about my relationship that they don't know anything about, so they can shove them up their ass. You know, that's right. I don't know.
This just went serious. Like, we escalated very quickly.
You know what? That's my jam. Okay, you know
quick
this.
Quick escalation.
No, I just think because obviously it's on social media a lot. It's on the lives a lot. I know that it's in my mind. I have opinions, but I have seen her in more than one interview and social media response essentially say, I don't really care about people's opinions about my relationship. So if somebody tells me that they don't want my opinion, I don't think she's listening. If you are, I love you. Reach out. What?
No, she definitely, and even in the show, she said, I used to care all the time about people's opinion of me. Like, it would kill me if I thought people talking bad about me, and now I really don't care. Like,
well, and if you think about it, she had her mother telling her what to do her entire life. So just as somebody who like has like parental trauma from like being from my own story, like when I've had people tell me what to do, I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. Have I not been thriving for 37 years? Go fuck yourself. Like, I get pretty irritated with unsolicited advice, even if I could totally use the advice, you know? So
when I was, when I got out of my like crappy situation in my last horrible relationship, my cult of two, I used to get it was very triggery for me for people to tell me what to do or how I felt, because that was immediately like explosive, like,
or when
hatred.
they would ask you why you didn't leave the relationship sooner, or
but like the unsolicited, like, you should do this, or you should live your life like this, or you shouldn't do this. It was like, that's the quickest way to light a trigger under me, like a fire under me.
Yeah. I
don't
think,
tell me how to live my life, bitch.
Yeah. So I could definitely see her feeling just like, goddamn. So I'm just saying that I'm gonna keep my opinions out of it, just out of respect for her, regardless of how I feel or what I think. Also, I know pretty little. You know, all I know is what I've seen shared on social media, and
well, they might dig in a little bit in the next couple episodes. So I imagine they're probably going to cover the investigation and trial and stuff. So they haven't gone there yet. So
yes. And also, so that's coming Wednesday, you guys. Same time, same place, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at TSFU, the podcast live on YouTube.
Mhm.
And then if you just want to get crazy with me all week, come on, let's get loco. All right, you guys, I'm going to be live on Thursday with my friend Shantae Pitts, and we are going to be talking about Natalia Grace Speaks. Well, the documentary is actually called The Curious Case of Natalia Grace. It's season 2, Natalia Speaks, and it's the first time that Natalia's speaking publicly, and they are, oh my God, they're blowing shit up, and Christine Barnett and Christine more so, but they're both absolute monsters, her and Michael. So if you guys want to hear me break down episodes 1 and 2, that's happening Thursday evening. If you want to hear me break down 3 and 4, that's happening Friday afternoon at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time when Fallon and I do That's So Fucked Up, the podcast live like we do many Fridays. Although I think after this Friday, we're actually going to be taking like a hot minute off of that. So if you want
we're
live,
gonna do one more episode, but not live, I think, right? After that.
yeah, 2. I put another one on the schedule when you weren't looking.
She's so sneaky.
Working with Ashley. Woo!
She's so sneaky.
But oh my gosh, you guys, we have so much cool stuff coming up on the podcast. So get ready, you guys, because after this week, we have, you know, if you're here on YouTube watching, this week we've got Natalia Grace week, and then next week it's coming out on the podcast, and then on the podcast we've got psychotic psychology coming, which is a lot about social psych experiments, which is really, really cool. And oh my gosh, like a lot of cool stuff in store. So if you guys aren't subscribed to the podcast, do that. That's So Fucked Up, wherever you subscribe to podcasts. And if you're not following us on the YouTube where we're doing stuff early, follow us there at TSFU the Podcast Live. And go to our website, tsfthepodcast.com, to find all of our social medias and links to bingo and our merch and all the places you can listen to us and Patreon, all that good stuff. Yeah.
I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah.
I guess I should do that out loud. Yeah.
All right. It's late there.
It's late for me.
It
It's
is
like
late
past my old Fallon's bedtime.
Oh, Fallon. But yeah, guys, point is, I won't be here tomorrow because I'll be seeing The Hunger Games because it's going out of theaters and we have movie passes and have to make it worth it and make sure we see 2 movies a month at least. So I won't be here tomorrow, but Wednesday, we're breaking down the rest of Gypsy Rose. Thursday, breaking down Natalia Grace. Friday, breaking down Natalia Grace. And Saturday, I think, or Sunday, breaking down more Natalia Grace. So be here all week with us. It's on.
Be here,
and
be
poppin'.
square or something.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
All right.
Okay. Well, guys, have a great night. Thanks for being with us. And we will catch you on Wednesday. Bye.
Bye.